So we are still on day 3, or as we are affectionately calling it, Johnny Vivash Day. We've just had another block where we played short movie Fuse, which starred Johnny Vivash, and then feature movie Isaac, starring Johnny Vivash. How is everyone? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down the line, tell me who you are and what you did on the project.
Hi everyone, I'm Tariq Sayed. I wrote, directed and co-produced Isaac.
I'm Joshua Stack and I was the cinematographer and editor for Isaac.
I'm Jacob. I'm Jacob Knott. I was a producer and technical supervisor on Isaac.
Hi Dan, I'm Johnny Vivash and I played the lead in the film and was exec producer on the project.
First of all, Johnny, as the lead in Isaac, how did you rate the lead in Fuse?
Pretty good. He's got a great future ahead of him, I feel.
Definitely.
Yes, he's very nuanced as an actor. Definitely.
If you say so yourself. So, writer-directors, where did this movie come from? It seems, to me, it feels like a very kind of personal tale, but where did this story come from?
Well, I mean, I think the idea mostly came out of an interest in genetic modification and certain areas of science. So I was, when I first started writing it, I was very into kind of the ethics behind GM technology, changing, having the ability to kind of alter genes and create kind of like the perfect organism type thing. And at the same time, I was reading a lot into, just coincidentally, like lab-grown meat, cellular meat. And I felt there was sort of a crossover between them, sort of, they kind of married together quite nicely. So they kind of both worked their way into this tale, really. Yeah.
And when did the sort of thriller horror aspect come into it?
That was at the very beginning, really. Initially the first stem of an idea was very simple. It was just two parents who genetically engineer their own child with kind of, and it was always going to kind of go south. It was always going to be a bit of a horror kind of element to it. But as I wrote it, different kind of themes worked their way in, and actually I focused more on the sort of the family drama aspect of it, and then and things like the ethics of it. It's kind of that was the main focus of it.
And when did we start getting our team together? How did everybody come onto the project?
Well, I've known these two since I was very young, so primary school, and so we've always kind of made short films together growing up. We have a really nice sort of dynamic and focus on different areas of filmmaking, which it's kind of worked out very nicely because there's no kind of like stepping on each other's toes. We all just we have our own responsibilities, sort of thing. So yeah, we spend a lot of time together outside of the film world, but also as friends as well. So yeah, that's how we know each other. And Johnny, I've seen his work, many films before this. And contacted him with the script and stuff, and that's how we met in a pub somewhere after he read the script, and we got on really well.
And Johnny, what was it about this script that just sung to you?
I think when you're an actor and you get something like this, there's so much to unpack by way of character, I think, and it's what you yearn for as well to have, instead of then, we all go in and do day roles or run for a couple of days and that, but a lead role that has this depth, it was just a massive challenge and something that I was completely 100% on board to embrace. And it's the struggle, it's this family struggle that's this question, this horrendous question that they're answering, not just once a month, but on an everyday basis. And everything that comes off of that, the negative tangent effects that Nicholas and his decision making brings about within the household. So yeah, very layered, lots of deep dives into cellular meat regeneration stuff, both fictional and very close to where we are now, as well, I might add. So yeah, it's sung from the page for me.
And as a producer, not everybody maybe fully understands what producers do on movies. What was your jobs to do?
A bit of everything, I think. We were a very small crew. There's a really small number of us as the core crew. So mostly in production, just the logistical side of working out how we're going to go about shooting everything in the order we shot. We shot in a lot of different blocks. We didn't shoot sort of all at once. So that meant a lot of difficulty when it came to sort of just planning around continuity. Like, as you can see, with the time difference throughout the film, just sort of planning when Johnny's beard was going to be long, short, medium, and everything in between.
And how was the atmosphere while making this film? Because it's a very serious film, so I often wonder, do you kind of stay in the mode, or how do you break it up a little bit? So what was it like behind the scenes working on this?
Well, we had to sort of try and balance being kind of knowing each other very well, being good friends for a long time, and then actually switching it on and being extremely focused on the task at hand. It's a very kind of serious subject matter, I suppose, but in between takes and shooting, you go back to normal. You want to have a nice time doing it. I guess Johnny would be a good one to answer that as well, because he's had to remain in character for the best part of 3 years or so that we shot it. So and the film kind of hinges on the performances.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, initially it was the script was written in 2019 before COVID, and it was written as a short film, so about 35 or 40 pages. We went out and shot that, and then the lockdown hit and everything. So Josh and I were editing over Zoom for a good few months, or during the whole lockdown, pretty much. And then we realised that we had sort of a 45-minute short, which is neither here nor there. It's not quite a feature, but it's almost there. And with that, there was still a lot of room to kind of trim down, actually, and to refine it. We kind of took what we had and all sort of met up after COVID and decided that we wanted to kind of press on and we'd hope that everyone would come back to sort of keep shooting. That's pretty much what we did.
Filmmaking is always a challenge, of course it is. And then when you throw in the last few years, it's been a bit more of a challenge with COVID, lockdown, having to do things over Zoom and everything. What have you learned about yourself as a filmmaker? And we'll go down the line, but what have you learned about yourself in this process with this movie?
Watching it now, it's quite interesting because I haven't seen it for a few months, but it's not that long. But after watching it every day, pretty much, while we were editing it and making it and writing it, simultaneously, I feel like it was kind of my film school almost. And because I didn't go to film school, but I think the best way to learn is to do it. I'm sure we all agree on that we all kind of learn how to logistically how to put something together, how to have sort of patience and surround yourself with the right people. I think was what I learned most was it's all just a collaboration completely. So as long as you get the right people for each department, then it's possible to bring it together.
Or you have all of us who can jump into each other's shoes whenever we need to, because someone else is doing one thing, and you have to always be in different roles. But the limitations become suddenly the things that save you. You don't even see those coming. You don't realise it. It's not until you're in really bad situations where you look to everybody, and there's everybody on set because it was such an intimate set, and then suddenly everybody steps up together. And that was an amazing feeling that every time we came back from block to block, we always stepped up even more, and everyone became a lot better from that, a lot better crew because of that. So it was amazing to see the limitations become suddenly our strengths, which was a wonderful thing to see.
the list of things we've done, I think, is endless. Really, it was quite an interesting process. We've found ourselves sort of having shot over three years or so. You know, we were finding ourselves shooting or doing all 3 stages of production at once, sort of planning the next shoot about, you know, with another shoot around the corner, and then also still looking over the edits and stuff all at the same time. So yeah, there was very little separation of those 3. Like when you're taught film, you know, we've all studied film, and they kind of tell you, oh, you've got production, you've got pre-production, you've got post-production, but yeah, then they weren't the 3 distinct stages they kind of make out. But yeah, it was an interesting process. Yeah, it's very strange to stay committed to one project for the best part of 3-4 years. But yeah, I think it's taught us all some perseverance and kind of showed us that we could make it.
A litany of self-epiphanies. And how to wrestle with the ever-evolving and greying of my beard, to bring it back to a younger Nicholas. But I think, you know, in terms of learning, I think you're always on a learning kind of journey, and you learn something new every shoot. It could be a massive thing, it could be a small thing, it could be something that reaffirms something within you. But I think certainly patience, trust, understanding, and just allowing people to make their work as well. You know, that's an important thing too.
Sorry, I definitely learned how to kind of adapt to things as well, and not to be, you know, precious about certain things, how to stay true to your own vision, but at the same time listen to people around you and know which ideas to kind of take on board and that sort of thing, and kind of adapt to what's happening around you. When, for example, with the trees that came down, that wasn't really part of the script to begin with, but you know, they had to come down for whatever reason, and it drastically changed the landscape. So it was just about trying to work that into the story in an organic way, though, you know, not just kind of plopping it in somewhere, just try and put it in a certain place where it might reflect the character's state of mind.
I never noticed that. So it worked well then. And we've all learned something about ourselves right now, but one thing that any creative that I speak to can always do is tell me exactly 100 million things that are wrong with their movie, especially when they see it up on a big screen like that in all its glory. But I like to ask, what is the one thing up there that after this challenging process, after 3 years, what's the one thing up there on that screen that you see and you think, we nailed it that day, that looks amazing?
I'm glad that we all kind of got through it almost, you know, and completed it, and that's for me, that's, you know, I'm very sort of proud of that, and we all kind of, you know, had our sanity intact as well at the end of it, because it was kind of part of our lives for 4 years. So just seeing it as a whole, and that's what I'm sort of most pleased with. Cool. But also seeing, because we shot some in 2019, then we came back and did more and more. It was nice to sort of see from a personal point of view how we kind of worked better each time in bringing, in filming and in working with people and not compromising with things, and just developing, I suppose, as filmmakers.
I suppose for me, lighting in camera, it was an absolute pleasure to have the talent like Johnny and Bosco and Katrina, and to set the kind of the scene, frame, light, and then watch these people make this world become alive. It's great to have nice lighting, it's great to have a good script, but without the talent there to kind of push that through, it can sometimes almost be nothing. So to see through the frame and to bring the talent, bring it all to life, was personally an amazing thing. And I was starstruck at every time we got it right, and everyone knew we got it right. And it was amazing just to be able to kind of see what I've been planning personally, and then Tariq been planning, and Jake been planning, and it all comes together. And you're just watching it, you forget what you're meant to be doing because you get so lost in it. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have the talent to be able to do that with.
I think the thing I'm happiest on screen, like visually, would be the sort of dream sequence scene. I think visually, it's a very different scene in the film. But I think that really shows sort of a combination of a lot of the things we learned about. Well, it's us applying a lot of the things we've learned about filmmaking throughout the process and putting that together to put off that scene.
God, this is a difficult one.
It always is.
It really is. Well, there's two things that I really enjoyed that I thought, yeah, that's absolutely nailed. And I was just, by way of very impressed at the fluidity in which the lads could work between departments because they've known each other for so long. And I think that's what you hope and yearn for on a set with a crew. And you tend to go back and hire the same people again because there's a shorthand there and you have a very good working relationship. But to be able to see that happening, which was great, that was, for me, they're nailing it here. That was really lovely to experience and watch. And then for me, I really like the editing around the apple scene with the maggots. To me, that's just a favourite of mine.
I've got a couple little questions to end off with, but do we have anything in the audience? You may actually need to shout because I don't have an open mic. Do we have any people want to ask any questions? Yep.
It's a question for each of you guys. Kind of similar to your question, but what was your favourite scene to film and why from the film?
Well, the one that springs to mind is the dream sequence as well, because it was in our old school, and we had our dads there and as extras, and yeah, it was, I don't know, it just kind of it was just nice to be back, I guess, as old kind of classmates being there, but then coming back as making the film. It was nice, and we kind of took over the school for the weekend in the drama department and the exam hall where I failed all my exams. Yeah, so it was probably that, I think.
I think for me, one of the big scenes that kind of stands out is probably with Johnny and Bosco, Dr. Guria, Nicholas, and when we kind of see the first hand what it actually is going on with Isaac, but not through Nicholas's eyes, it's with a professional, and having those two guys on set was just amazing. And me personally, I really like the way that we shot that film. I think the day went really well. It's effortless when you've got these guys in front of the camera because it makes your job so much easier. They do all the work all of a sudden, and it's brilliant. So for me, that kind of whole scene was, the whole day was a brilliant day. Everybody was on the top marks, and it was just such a pleasure to be able to shoot that scene, and it went really well, I think.
For me, I mean, it'd have to be the dream sequence. As much as that was a stressful shoot, I have fonder memories, I think, of that shoot. It felt like we had learned a lot and it was going a lot smoother, whereas I think every other scene I can think off the top of my head, I can still remember the stress of each one. So I don't think I could say any of those.
Oh, God. Well, I have to add an S to the end of scenes, and certainly working with Bosco and Katrina as well was just a joy, because I'd known their work for so long, and having seen Bosco and lots of very recognisable stuff, and of course Katrina as well with her Fulci connection, that was just a wonderful thing to be in a scene with somebody who worked with that master, really, Giallo. So yeah, those are my favourite days, definitely. Yeah.
Do we have anyone else?
Just a quick question. Did you have to cut much in terms of what you left on the cutting room floor?
Yes, yeah, there was.
Since for the 84 minutes, I mean, how much shooting time?
Quite a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot longer than that.
There's a fair few really nice scenes that just didn't make it. Yeah, it's a bit painful.
That's pretty much my next question. Was it difficult to technically cut and also sort of artistically cut?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, like I said earlier, I think we all had to learn how to not be precious about certain things, and And at the end of the day, we just asked the question: Is this serving the story? Is this scene going to work? Is this shot going to work? It might, look nice, or it might kind of please other senses. But if it doesn't kind of add to the narrative, then it wouldn't end up in the final film. And also because we shot a short first, some of the scenes we actually reshot. So for example, the Dr. Guria in his cabin in the woods type thing, that was a completely different scene initially, which we canned to try and improve it, and it went a different turn. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think
editing?
with editing, everyone's very different in the way they do it, and it's such a personalised craft and art. But the one thing that we kept doing was, which I feel like you have to kind of do sometimes, is do every other thing apart from the right cut, and then you find the right cut. But you have to go through the order of doing, that looks all right, but let's try that, and then you kind of work on that for half an hour or half a day. It doesn't work, and you kind of just work your way through it, and then you find it, and then you found it, and then that's where you stick on that. Great question, Dad. Thank you very much.
And then I see another hand in the
Yes. What was the creative decision behind sort of having the father stay rather than it being the female, the mother? Because obviously, usually in society that doesn't tend to happen. It's usually the mother that would stay with the child. So why was it? Was that just always the way, or yeah?
I have to try and think back. I'm not sure. I mean, we kind of wanted to spin it on its head a bit and have, that maternal bond sort of switched up a bit. And I'm not sure. I think it was just very early on that this character of Nicholas was just in my mind, and maybe it's because I'm a male myself, and I sort of felt more comfortable developing him as a character. But I'm not sure. Maybe Johnny wants to add to that as Nicholas.
I think just to echo what you're saying there, it was inversing that rather, because you're right in saying it's normally the female who stays, the male leaves. So I think with the script to see what might transpire if that happened, and the pitfalls and the ill decision making that ensued afterwards was an interesting territory to explore.
So we're going to start rounding out there, but one thing I do want to ask is we have our very own umbrella corporation, Big Bad. Are we seeing any more of that?
With Geo Group.
Are we going to delve into that universe a bit?
Well, I think Isaac's story is certainly over, but might try and work in the whole kind of corporation thing somewhere. I've opened that universe now, so maybe the product placement in the back of the next film. You'll see that.
Like Billy, or was it Quentin Tarantino's Bad Apples or Red Apples or whatever? It just turns up everywhere. We'll finish off with what's everybody working on next, what we're moving on to, what can we expect to see from you guys going forward?
Well, I'm writing another screenplay at the moment, which is another sort of sci-fi horror, sort of cosmic horror type thing.
Nice.
Which, I'm sort of very deep into that at the moment. So it's been quite interesting to kind of be thrown back into this and remember that we made it, kind of thing.
Yeah, we're waiting for him to finish that, and then he'll let us know when our next job is. Sounds about right, doesn't it?
We'll be working on whatever Tariq finishes writing, basically. I think by the looks of it, we only heard about this idea last night in the bar, so so I'm excited to hear more. Really,
Just wait to hear all the best.
We are just finishing up on post-production, 90% finished on a feature film we shot in Manchester earlier this year called Cara, and that is about the dark and murky world of cam girls and a protagonist within that world who suffers from dissociative disorder, who sadly comes under the influence of a killer. So we've just finished that, and that has been sent out to festivals at the moment, and shooting something on Monday, a short, so that's very anxiety inducing because I'm producing as well as being in that as well. And then a couple of other script development things that we're doing too with other directors and other writing partners.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for submitting Isaac. Letting us show it here today. I think it's an absolutely beautiful film, and seeing it up on the big screen today was a bit of a treat. So can we get a quick round of applause from everyone?